was 1986. I was a 28-year-old mom, 2 little boys. My husband worked on a farm, lived here in Red Deer. And it was not a healthy relationship. And most people didn't know about that side of my life, but it wasn't a fist-flying relationship. It was a relationship where I lived in fear of the words. And most people didn't know about what was going on in my life and how I was living in fear. And I didn't think people knew about it, but one day a very good friend gave me a piece of paper that said, "When you're ready, here's where you go." So in my head, I had this plan of how that would all work out. I was scheduled to go back to Red Deer College and go back to the workforce. I could save some money and do all those things. But there was one evening, it was quite late at night, the boys were already in bed, and my husband was working on the farm because it was harvest time. And I knew it was time to go. But I also knew that in order to escape, I would have to write a note that explained how it was my fault. So I wrote, "I've gone to get help for myself." Bundled up the boys in their blankets and we showed up here, and it truly was a safe and welcoming space. The boys got tucked into bed and went downstairs in the very original little tiny building that was here and talked to somebody, and they just listened and passed me tissues when the tears wouldn't stop rolling down my cheeks. And that day, my biggest concern was of something that I had heard for 14 years. If you ever leave me, I will kill myself. I just couldn't get past this was going to be my fault, and the words that had been said to me that you essentially will be guilty of murder. And that was big. That was hard to climb out of that hole of that absolute fear. The day after I got here, one of the staff members whispered to me and said, "He didn't kill himself. He's at work today." And I had all the help that I needed over here, and there was a real bonding experience with the rest of the women here in the place. And in those days, the kitchen was kind of in the same room where the tables and chairs and the sofas and the kids' play area and everything was all in one space. And a box of groceries would arrive by a donation, and we'd go through the box and we'd decide what we're going to make for dinner, and we could laugh and we could be ridiculous and do all kinds of fun things. And I think for me that was particularly healing because there was no eggshells to walk around and navigate around. I was safe here. I had self-worth. I could learn about being the master of my own destiny, and that was big too. We got a little place to live. It was the cutest little house. And it had our 2 suitcases and the blankets the boys were wrapped in when we went to the shelter. And my brain just couldn't figure out how on earth I'm safe in this little tiny house, but no tables, no chairs, no anything. So this was later in the week, and Saturday morning was a lovely day, and this big giant grain truck pulled up in front of my house, and they said, "It's okay, Mary from the shelter sent us." So they explained to me that their mother had passed away, and they had cleaned out her house, and they were going to bring this whole truckload of stuff to the shelter to help other women, but the shelter didn't have room. And Mary from the shelter said, "Well, we know where you can bring this." And everything, I just stood there and cried as these 3 people carried a whole house full of furniture and dishes and cutlery, everything you can imagine, towels, was there. And I think that was the first day of my life where I really learned, A, to accept help, and B, to be grateful, because I wasn't alone in this world. I was the master of my own destiny, and somebody helped me to get to that next step and that next level. And over the years, this place always held such a special place in my heart, and I was so happy to tell people that I was a graduate of here because of all of the things that I had learned and how I could go on with my new life and be the master of my own destiny and allow other people into my life and be safe and happy. And today, I'm a grandma, got 2 grown grandkids, a lovely 9-year-old grandkids. My kids are incredibly amazing human beings. I have a wonderful spouse in my life who likes me, actually loves me just because of who I am. And so there were so many things to learn in my life, and learn gratitude and learn to trust. And a few months ago when I got a tour of this new facility with my friend Robin, both of us were on the board of the shelter for a short time. And Robin said a few times during our tour, "My heart is so happy." And that's exactly what I felt taking the tour of this new facility. It offers every step of the way, the emergency shelter part, the transition housing, affordable housing for women and children who want to take those steps, who want to learn about self-appreciation and self-worth, and also to be masters of their own destiny.